Hey everybody, SigTrent here, game designer, co-creator of the Everyday Heroes role-playing game, and fearless leader of SigTrent Games. This is my weekly update number 2 on SigTrent Games and my personal gaming journey, I guess you'd call it. Although, pretty late into my personal gaming journey, but that's fine. Not week 2 of that, maybe year 32, something along those lines. Alright, anyway, as we usually do, we'll kick it off with news about SigTrent Games, since that's kind of the main subject here on these. What have we been doing this week? Well, last week when we left our heroes, they had been starting on their first projects, getting their social media act put together, making their first video. What are we doing this week? It's kind of more of the same. So, got another lovely weekly video. I've also been working on a monthly kind of a how-to video, so it's going to be about how the armor system works in Everyday Heroes, since that's a pretty big departure from 5e, and a lot of people end up with questions about it. So that's going to be the first of the how-to videos. I got the script put together, and I'm still working on how I'm going to do the visuals in order to kind of communicate the information, because if you're going to do a visual video thing, it should probably be more than just me talking if it's going to be instructional. So I got to work on that. At any rate, that's going on, but the real thrust of this week is to work hard on our new project. I happen to have a lovely prototype here that I am not going to show off just yet. I think maybe next week I'll be announcing exactly what the project is and maybe giving people a little bit of a peek at it. We shall see about that. Depends on how far along we are. But I think so. I'm very happy with it. You know, the first week is a little rough trying to get it together. Always with the beginning of a project, it's like exactly how is this going to work? But, you know, the second week here, it's really coming together, and I'm like, yes, I can now see the vision of the final form coming into shape for what I really want it to be, and so I'm hoping everybody's going to like it. Still maybe 2-3 weeks out. We'll see. It'll be ready when it's ready. You know, I believe in kind of quality over speed with things, so we're going to try to do the best job we can with it, and when we think it's good and ready and all nailed down, then that's when you'll get to have a nice look at it. Now, some of the projects coming up, you know, we might preview them a little bit earlier than this, but you'll see when the time comes why I want to kind of keep it on the download to start with, but we'll get there. Anyway, what else is going on here? We're still getting the word out. I'm trying to get more people on the Discord, so if you're watching this and you're interested in Discord, there'll be a link down below that has an invite link, and you'll be seeing me posting that around on social media, whatever I'm talking about. Probably be a link to the Discord. Why? Because it's a great place for me to get fan feedback in detail from people. So, you know, I could get requests on Reddit and Facebook, and they'll write those down and squirrel them away somewhere. But on Discord, I can do polls, and I can kind of have conversations with people and get a more in-depth view of the ideas on things people are interested in buying in the future, which directs me as to things I kind of want to make. A lot of the suggestions I've gotten so far, some of them are things that are kind of already going on over at Evil Genius Games. And, you know, my general strategy is not to step on their toes. I don't want to have my product be an alternate version of a product they're doing. I'd rather build on the things they're doing and do independent things that I'm doing that don't impact them. That way, even though I'm third party, there's still a kind of cohesiveness. When I was at Evil Genius Games, it's a big, important thing for me, for the game overall, is for all of its bits and pieces to have a kind of cohesive feel, and they all fit together well, and everything's very compatible. So that's important to me. One thing people really want, I think, is some urban fantasy type stuff. And, you know, Evil Genius Games already has the Everyday Arcana project, and a fair bit of work has been done on that, although it looks like it'll be a little while before that comes out. So I want to find a way to satisfy people's itch for that kind of content, but not to have it be wildly different, and also not to be a duplicate of stuff that you might find in Everyday Arcana. So that's a little bit of a difficult puzzle, but I'm working on it, and we'll figure some stuff out. Maybe I'll do some straight fantasy, and then you can bring that into the urban environment. Or maybe we'll pick a specific sort of a setting that's different than the shadow surrounding setting that Everyday Arcana is based on. Although, of course, Everyday Arcana is meant to be a toolbox, but it'll come with its own specific setting. And that's some of the great work that's been done. The contest team that won that did some great stuff, and you know, I'm really hoping it gets out there for everybody to enjoy. All right, so that's that. Things keep coming. So please get on the Discord. Let me know what you want. You can also post here on YouTube. That's great. Let me know things you're interested in or anywhere else you see me hanging around. And I'm hanging around all over the place. All right. What else? It's not specifically SigTrent Games, but I used it as an opportunity to promote the game. And it really helped. I did get a lot of people that came to the Facebook and checked us out because of it. And that was to do a live play with the Epic Realms team, run by a great guy who has always been really supportive of us, and I always try to be really supportive of him because that's how you do independent press gaming, I think, is you be supportive of other people. So, great fellow, and he invited me to come and play a game with the fine folks from Fight in a Box Games. And they make a cool little role-playing game called I'm going to read it here so I get it right. The Mechanical Corners RPG. And it's not mechanical as in a machine mechanical, but MC Chanical. So, I don't know, it's sort of a little weird steampunk setting where you can either play an upper crust foodstuff like a living sandwich, a middle class animal, or kind of a lower class machine animal foodstuff hybrid creature. And it's also tied into another game they have, which is a cool card game that's about heists. So the role-playing game is also about heists. So in this story, they actually took a variation. Instead of about a heist, it was a little bit more of a rescue. And we were rescuing a baby red cabbage that was apparently prophesized to become the Winter King and rule the winter vegetables in an endless frost. And so our job was to kind of stop that and to get the child back. I was playing Donatello, a kind of living donut person. And it was very silly and a lot of fun, and I got to have fun making puns, something my father taught me growing up. He loves bad puns. My father is a classic dad joke guy, and so I picked up those skills, let's call them, and put them to good use. So if you want to check that out, that is also on YouTube. So if you're here, Google Fight in a Box Games, and you should find some of their stuff. Really cool folks. I really enjoyed playing with them. It was a ton of fun. So those are the main thrusts of things going on with Sig Trent Games, so I know that's not super exciting. I mean, there's a lot of little details about trying to get authenticated on various social networks and fiddling around with settings on my website and that sort of thing. But a little too boring, I think, for this blog. All right, so let's move on. I've decided to add a little segment here to these called the Game Design Tip of the Week. Because one of the polls I have up on our Discord is what kind of videos would you like to see? And people the most favored thing was to get some game design advice. And I love teaching. I've taught English in Japan, and I just generally enjoy sharing what I know with other people and helping others grow in their skills. So that's a great fit for me, so let's go ahead and throw that in here. Today's game design tip of the week is to make templates. So template is just, a proto document that you make. Let's say we're doing feats. And so my company has a certain format that we like to do for feats, honestly based on the formats that they use at Wizards of the Coast and the ones that we use at Evil Genius Games. Very similar, if not almost exactly the same, because consistency is good. But at any rate, so you've got a feat title, you've got a prerequisite line, that's in italics, you've got a feat description, which is in regular text, and then you have a set of feat benefits. One thing that made my templates unique is I pretty much always bullet point each individual feat benefit that you get. So they're kind of atomic. That makes it helpful if you want to put it on a computer or do other things with it. And I'm always thinking about stuff like that because I used to be a software engineer. Even though I don't make computer game stuff, I still think in a kind of an atomic way. Anyhow. So you have this format. It has the bolding and the title sizes and all that kind of stuff in it. And then what you do if you're going to make a book of feats and you're going to say, well, I'm going to have about 20 feats, you paste 20 copies of your template in there. And this has a number of benefits. Let's kind of go over why you want to make templates for game elements. First is it keeps your work consistent. So every time you publish, it's going to look similar. People are familiar with the format. They're not going to have too many questions. It's going to be easy and quick for them to understand once they're used to that template. Number two, it avoids copy and paste errors. What people do a lot, and I have been guilty of plenty of times, is copying the last feat you did and then pasting that in and then replacing the text with new stuff. But that leads to a lot of problems. You miss things that you forgot to change, and you get parts of the old feat or just wrong information. And leads to a lot of problems like that your editor might not catch because they don't know what you intended as a game designer necessarily. Maybe they think, oh yeah, that prerequisite is perfectly reasonable for that feat. They probably don't know. But you do, and you copy-pasted it in there, and it's all wrong. So that kind of thing, no matter how careful you are, it is going to happen. And using templates helps you prevent that. It also speeds up work. You don't have to remember and go find a good one to copy and paste in and all that. You just pre-slap all your templates down in there. If you need another one, you can get another 5 of them. Bang, 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 and put them in. So it's going to speed up your work. It's also just like less mental work you have to do, like thinking about, oh, I need to make this italic, so this needs to be bold, blah, 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 blah. You only have to think about it once when you make the template, and then every other time you do it, you just save your brain for the creative work that you're going to do. So it helps there as well. Finally, ensures you get all the details right. Now, this is more important when you're doing something really complex like an NPC stat block, right? So there are all kinds of bits and bobs included in an NPC stat block. And when you do your template and it has every possible little thing that an NPC can have, it makes sure you don't miss stuff. Because if you're just doing it from memory, you're going to miss stuff, and there's going to be missing parts of the stat block and all that sort of thing. Now, not every stat block is going to need every possible entry that you have, but that's fine. You just delete them out of there. When you get to that entry, you're like, I don't need that part. Nuke it out of there, and you're good to go. I also believe in not having wasted space. So if you've got like a field that's normally on a stat block, but your stat block doesn't have it, like let's say personal armor or something, why include that? It's just adding column width to something, and it's not going to do anybody any good to know that they don't have armor. There's exceptions to that, but generally speaking, if it ain't relevant, don't include it. All right, so those are kind of the good parts. Now let's talk about a couple little dangers that come in with using templates extensively. One is you can get kind of stuck in your ways, right? So you can use this template over and over again. It's easy, it's fast, it's keeping you going. But you really should stop and consider once in a while, could I make this template better? Is there an order of things presented that's going to be more natural for somebody to read or easier to find? Is there a way to highlight information and differentiate it in a way that is extra clear and nice to read? That kind of thing. So you can just kind of get stuck not thinking about making things better. So I just encourage you to every once in a while come back, reevaluate your templates, make sure they're as good as they could be. Next up is, did you remember to change everything? And this is a different kind of copy and paste error. What can happen here, since you're copying and pasting your template, you could just leave some template default in there, like it could just say prerequisite, right? And you're supposed to put the actual prerequisite in there. Well, you didn't remember to, and now it just says prerequisite. That's really obvious. That's a copy and paste error. Now, that's the kind of thing your editor can find better. But here's what I do to avoid that, is in my templates, I color code the parts of the template that need to be replaced and customized when you're actually going to do it. So the standard thing where it says hit points, that ain't colored. It's just regular black and white, so you've taken care of it. But the part where you put in the hit points, whether you use a placeholder that's just like the number symbol, or you just put in the word 30 or whatever it is you want to do to be your placeholder there, I color it with usually yellow or pink or something. That way, when you copy your template in, it's kind of like, you got this color code. Okay, if there's any pink left over, then I haven't done my job properly, and there's something I still need to do with this. If all the pink's gone, then I'm probably finished with my work here, and I can move on to the next one. And it just jumps right at you, and so it's really easy to make sure you make those replacements, right? So that's how to deal with that. Finally, old templates. It's a common problem. You make a template, and then somebody makes a copy of it, and they put it in, let's say, a starter document for a certain type, like here's your adventure starter document, and it's got copies of the feat template and the NPC template and the pre-gen character template. Well, then that gets used by some other people. Then maybe somebody comes along and they're all innovative and they change the master template, but they don't know that those templates are now copied into that other document. So that could be kind of a problem you got to watch out for. It's better to have one source of truth, Or if you are going to have some sort of subsidiary copies, that you make a big note that says, look, if you change the template, you got to go change this other document because it's important that get propagated through all the products consistently, right? So that's a big deal. Now, one of the reasons this whole template came up was another suggestion and a request I had on the Discord was somebody was asking, hey, can you help me out because I want to write Everyday Heroes stuff? Can you tell me your standards and how you do things? And so a big part of that's templating. And so I'll make sure that the templates that I use are going to be available to fans. So if you want to get into writing stuff for Everyday Heroes, if you want to write for me at SigTrent Games, or you want to write for Dave over at Evil Genius Games, you got a nice head start. Of course, I'm going to use very similar templates to the ones that we used over at Evil Genius Games because I like standardization, and templating isn't exactly copyrighted. It's something you want to share among games. But I'm going to rewrite the documents because there's other stuff that we used over there. So I'm going to make sure these are SigTrent templates, and they might have little differences because I do things my own way. But you can definitely use them. I want to make them available to anybody and everybody, and we'll make sure there's like a little open gaming license or something on there so that you can just go ahead and feel free to copy that around and use it as you like, share it with other people. It's all good by me. All right, what's up next? So I think that's my game design tip of the week, templating. All right, playing games. What I've been playing lately. Played a lot of Pal World with my wife. It was Valentine's Day recently, and one of the things we did was play a bunch of Pal World together. Now, we've been playing Pal World anyway, but, we had a nice, intense session. We both worked on our bases a little bit. Then we went out and caught a whole bunch of new and exotic pals together. It's a really fun game. It's kind of like Pokemon, but 3D, and there's guns, and there's crafting, and base building and stuff. It's sort of a kitchen sink game, but I've been having a ton of fun with it. We're getting towards the end of the game of it's still in early access, so it doesn't have an end to the game yet, but we're getting up towards the level cap. We got the last 10 levels to go. It does slow a little bit as you get in there, but it's pretty fun. Oh, I just realized that my headphones on. I don't really need these on. So let's take that off. All right. Boy, the sound of my own voice is very different when I'm not wearing those. All right. What else? I've also been playing some Stellaris, which is a great 4X strategy space game with a lot of role-playing elements. My current campaign are the Knights of the Toxic God, which are these strange little guys that worship an alien god. We actually found the Toxic God and beat it up, but then we decided, if we could beat it up, it's not really the Toxic God, so the quest continues. I also decided that I'm going to make these little weirdo knights the Crisis, which at the end of a game of Stellaris, some kind of crazy galaxy-wide crisis happens, an alien invasion, a machine uprising. You never know what it's going to be, and it's super challenging to try and fight it off. But in one of the DLC packages, they made a thing where you can become the Crisis. You become the bad guy, and the rest of the galaxy teams up to try and stop you before you destroy everything. So I figure I've never used that option before. And, my little Toxic Knights, since they decided that the real god is kind of beyond the universe, they're going to try and breach the walls between the Shroud, which is kind of like a mystic realm, and the real universe, and shatter the difference between them so that they can ascend into the realm of the gods. And that would be bad for everybody else in the galaxy because it would cause everything to go into a supernova black hole. I don't think people like that so much. So that's the plan. Haven't quite settled. We have a galactic war to settle first. The Galactic Confederation I'm a part of went to war with the other Galactic Confederation, which is just about all of the galactic civilizations in the galaxy. So it's a giant galaxy-wide war. So I want to get that wrapped up and see as many casualties between the fighting factions as possible so that when I pull the trigger on being the big bad guy, everybody's not in a great shape, but I am. Insidious plan. But that's the kind of thing I love about Stellaris. It's sort of half role-playing, half strategy game. So you kind of pick what your story is and then try to survive and get to whatever end state of the universe you happen to want, whether that's galactic peace and love or everything turning into a black hole you ascend to godhood. Who knows? Up to you to choose. What else? I guess it's not really playing games, but I spent some time over on X, which I don't go to very often. I'm not a fan of X/Twitter. But I was on there because some fans of the Creature Codex, which was recently released to patrons through Evil Genius Games, had accused some of the artists of using AI. Now, here's the thing with that is like I can't know what artists do or don't do. When you hire an artist, there's a certain amount of trust. You say, hey, look, I don't want any AI. I don't want you to use generative AI. They go back, they do the art that they do, they submit it. Sometimes you have an art curator, what's the word, an art coordinator that is really savvy about AI and can pick it out, but a lot of times you don't. Because most artists don't like using AI. And the art curator is not always going to be, super good at picking it out. So it's very hard to know with 100% certainty, unless you are the artist that made the thing, exactly how it was made. But by default, I'm going to trust people. That's just how I go through my life. I trust people until they prove that they aren't trustworthy. To a degree. Obviously, I'm not going to hand everybody my bank account, right? Because somebody's not going to be trustworthy out there. But generally speaking, people you work with, especially on an individual basis, I'm going to start by trusting them, and then we'll find out what happens, right? So in this case, I went there to say, hey, look, so far as I know, none of this stuff is AI. Like, we worked with the artists, there were back and forths, Legendary approved all the pieces of art that are involved in that book, so they've looked at everything and thought it was good. We looked at everything and thought it was pretty good. That doesn't mean for sure it's not AI, but it means so far as we know, it's not. And there was no intent to do that or to put AI out there, right? So I went to talk about people because I think a lot of the time people just look at stuff and they say, oh, it's an evil world out there and everybody's up to bad things. So I'll just speak to the truth I know, which is that, to my knowledge, nothing bad's going on. And to just engage with the fans. People like to be engaged with. They like to talk. They hear about stuff. And point out, some of the things that we're saying, like as their reasoning was, it's very different from the creatures in the cartoon. But honestly, those are differences that were requested and approved. So that doesn't mean it's AI. There were other arguments about the way the textures were or the anatomical properties of weird monsters, which again, they're weird monsters, so that's not like a dead giveaway. Now, if you draw a giraffe and it looks all weird and strange, that's a pretty good sign. You draw a strange monster from Skull Island and it's weird and strange, well, that's part of the package. It doesn't necessarily prove anything one way or another. And ultimately, I think if you're going to go accusing people publicly of doing things, especially stuff that's important to people in the business and the industry, have good ammunition. Like, you can say, hey, I find this a little suspicious. That's fine. But to say, oh, I know they've done bad because I can just tell, that's not very cool. I mean, you can do it. Fans can do anything they like. And I'm not going to get super angry. But I didn't get angry at all. What I did was just go out there and give them some perspective, show them a view from the insider, and get involved in that. So I'll just reiterate, for Sig Trent Games, we don't use generative AI for text, or for images, or for anything else for any product that we sell. Now, I use some of those things myself to make like a character portrait for a character I'm playing in a game, but I'm not going to sell that to anybody. It's just for personal use. It's just fun visualizing my characters and things like that. So that's our deal. No AI here, but I like to go out there and I guess the biggest thing is just to defend artists that I've worked with and that at least I trust. We have had people foist AI upon us unknowingly. So it happens. But I'm going to start out saying, as far as I know, these artists are fair. And if you want to come at them with an accusation, please come with strong evidence and not just suspicions. Because otherwise it's kind of slander and it's bad for people's reputations. I know people who very falsely have been accused of it. And I always feel sorry for them because it's hard enough for artists to have to fight against the competition the AI represents, to then also have to defend themselves against accusations of using it is like a bridge too far that I just don't need, I think. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. All right, life in general. So I hope you can tell I'm feeling pretty good. A little less scary than last week, I suppose, because it's a little less new. But, there's always worries about money. Starting a business, very hard. Starting a gaming business, doubly hard. Hunting for a job in this day and age, kind of depressing and difficult because there's so many people applying. The kind of the globalization, the internetization of job hunting has meant you're competing with such a wider number of people, and it's a little harder to just sort of stumble upon that perfect job at the right time that other people haven't seen. Everybody sees everything, right? So it's just a harder environment to job hunt in, and sometimes really frustrating. So dealing with that. And generally, I like it. I love when I can get to the interview stage because I just like talking to people. So that's actually a lot of fun, and I did get a nibble. So looks like I'll get an interview set up with some folks, and that'll be really cool. It's kind of a neat job working at the parks. I also have to clean some porta potties probably, but I get to help campers and stuff. That's probably fun. So I think I'd have a good time with it. And honestly, I don't mind cleaning a porta potty or a toilet. When I was camping and traveling in an Airstream trailer, sometimes you'd work at the places that you stop. And I cleaned toilets and did it because, hey, the next camper who comes in gets a nice clean toilet, and that's great, right? So being of service to other people, I think, is always kind of a noble profession, even if people might look down on it or you think it's something you wouldn't want to do. If it's something you don't want to do, yeah, it's totally cool. But I'm not too proud to serve other people in that way. All right. I'm excited for our first product, of course, so I'm really excited about that. Like I said, it's coming together. It's looking really good. Matching my vision for what I want to see. There's more pieces to fall into place. But my lovely wife, Anne, is the workhorse on this one, and she's doing an incredible job. I'm just trying to help guide the trail, right? Because I know the game and all that sort of jazz. All right. What else? Don't have as much time as I'd like. We had Valentine's Day. I had a day where I was kind of stupid because I didn't get enough sleep the night before, staying up late working, and then that kind of makes me dumb the whole next day. There's some useful things I can do when I'm dumb, but game design generally isn't one of them, so try to keep my mind fresh. So yeah, it's just always like I got a million things I want to do and only a fixed amount of time to do them. Hey, but we all face that challenge in life, right? So that's pretty normal. I've really been enjoying the loving support from fans, from other creators, and of course from my wife. So far, everybody's been very supportive. That's been true most of my life, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. I know a lot of people in their lives face family and friends that are doubting of what they want to do. They kind of question their dreams. They tell them, oh, no, you can't do that. But, for whatever reason, I've had very little of that in my life. Usually when I say, I'm going to do this, the only person that might let me down would be me. So I have my own doubts and worries about the things I engage in, but mostly other people I know are super supportive. And that's been true of all the fans of Everyday Heroes, folks at Evil Genius Games, so thanks. A very heartfelt thanks. It means a lot to me. And really, support from the fans and stuff is a whole part of the ethos of the Sig Trent Games brand and idea. So it means a lot. And please, any way you want to try to help, that's great. It will be helpful and appreciated. Anything else going on? No, I had a wonderful Valentine's Day. I'll just give a shout out to my wife again. She made some lovely Japanese curry for me, which was so delicious, and wrote me a love poem and played lots of games with me and took me to see the new Captain America movie. I forget what its actual title is. It's good. I liked it. It's cheesy and hammy in parts, so expect some melodrama and some speechifying, which you'd kind of expect from Captain America, right? But I like the plot quite a bit, and the acting was really good, and has some good superhero action. So not one of my all-time favorite Marvel movies, but for me, it was good entertainment. I enjoyed it, so I give it a thumbs up. Maybe 3.5 out of 5, something like that. And for me, like a 3 is a very watchable movie. I'll enjoy watching it, When I get down to 2-1, that's like, I do not recommend you put your eyeballs on it, right? 4 for me is just like really good, and then 5 is like, oh my god, one of my favorites. It's going to be a new favorite. Blew me away. I can't believe how great it is, right? So, anywho, that's about everything. Oh, my wife is waving at me. What is it, darling?
You should explain that we practice Valentine's Day and White Day.
Oh, okay. So my wife would like to mention that one tradition we have, because kind of Japanophiles, and we spent some time in Japan, is we do Valentine's Day and White Day. So on Valentine's Day, mostly my wife takes care of everything and kind of plans everything out. Now, I chose the movie and some other stuff. I was like, I want to go see a movie on Valentine's Day. But generally speaking, she takes care of stuff, and I don't have to do all that much, which is great. On the flip side, however, next month is going to be White Day on the 14th. And that's like a Japanese holiday, and it was just made by chocolate manufacturers. Because in Japan, generally, women give men chocolates on Valentine's Day to express their affection. So then White Day was invented as a day for men to give women chocolates. And in Japan, it's sort of a stereotype that women like white chocolate, men like dark chocolate. I don't know who likes milk chocolate. Maybe everybody. I'm a big fan. So that's kind of a Japanese thing. So we do that. It's sort of logistically good because we both are participating in the love giving and the love receiving. And also it's just sort of a clear delineation of who's going to do what. So she can plan everything for Valentine's Day. I can plan everything for White Day. It's a good tradition. So, if you ever struggle with the whole Valentine's Day thing, it's an option. You might say, oh, it's adding even more stuff. Yeah, well, so be it. Also, the nice thing is, because not a lot of people do White Day stuff, well, it's easier to go out and do things. Everything's not going to be crowded out. Now, Anna and I also will be like, hey, the holiday actually falls on this day, like birthday or whatever. Let's celebrate it on that day because there's going to be less people out there and it's going to be more convenient for what we want to do, or the weather's going to be good. We don't hang too much on sentimentality around here. But of course you have some, otherwise you wouldn't celebrate anything. But that's that. We should get Anne here on this sometime. She could be directly on. I don't know if you heard her voice or not, but she was talking to us. All right. Well, I think we're going to leave it at that. Please look down in the comments there if you want links to the Discord, to our Facebook. And also I'm going to put a link to Fight in a Box Games because they were really cool folks. And you should check them out. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.